Um, this is going to be a session mainly discussing partnership and investment in the biosimilar space. And we have three extremely experienced business development, head of business development, negotiation, who are going to kind of have more of a debate session between themselves, and we will take questions at the same time for them at the end. So I'd like to introduce you to Sangeeta Nair. She's head of BD and licensing biosimilars in Sandoz. Xiaoli Hugh, head of business development, Xbrane, and Eduardo Cioppi, global market access and public affairs director, mAbxience. You can see the three companies come from three different directions. Sandoz is the large number one biosimilars. mAbxience, have worked with them for years, I've heard of them. They more Latin America, coming now into Europe a little bit more. And Xbrane, they're pretty new in the market. Not a few years, but certainly not as, so we've got a good breadth of experience here among the business development. So I will hand over to the panel to start the discussions.
So I will just take the liberty in speaking first. Thank you everyone for having us. It's a true pleasure to be here. And before I start, I wanted to say that thanks a lot for Anil and Gopal for the excellent presentations. I actually echoed a lot about what the two of you said, that the biosimilar is actually a platform game. We see that exactly in the same way. It's a pure execution game. So I guess I'll kick my discussion with how to choose, how to choose the next pipeline. That's actually also in line with what Gopal had brought up in his presentation in the first place. Where is the next target? And I would like to share some of Xbrane's experience about how do we see where the space is moving, and in particular for us, where is our next target and why do we choose that? So before I start, for those of you who does not know yet about Xbrane, since we are a new player, actually we're not very new. So we're a Swedish-based biotech company. We are a dedicated biosimilar players, although we're located in Sweden, but we do have a global ambition. And over the years, we have managed to secure some of the most important partners in the biosimilar space, which I would elaborate a little bit later. So we see ourselves that we have a sufficient competitive edge to have a foothold in this very competitive space of the biosimilar space. So moving back to where is the next target? So in the experience of Xbrane, once again, we see the biosimilar space as a pure execution case. So the idea itself is all on the table. We're biosimilar, so we need to follow what the originators do, and looking at the patent expiration, then we do what is the biosimilar. But in addition to that, we see that the space can be driven by innovation, and that innovation lays in the platform technology, which each company has. I mean, different company has different platform technology. And speaking for Xbrane ourselves, we have a proprietary protein expression platform called LEMO, less is more. And that is the platform which is very powerful, which gives us the best protein yields, which then can be translated into a very competitive cost of goods in production, especially in the protein production. And because of that, we enter the biosimilar space because we believe that that character itself is powerful enough to give us a sufficient competitive edge in the biosimilar production development. And I would say that looking at our existing pipeline, the choosing of the target is pretty much centered around how to leverage this powerful protein expression platform. So take the example of our lead product, the Lucentis biosimilar, Xbrane. We leveraged our platform technology, and we have a very ideal yields, which give us the best cost of goods in the ranibizumab biosimilar space. And because of that, we were able actually to secure a partner with STADA for its global rights very early on in the development. I mean, I know that it is not very common that the biosimilar players, especially on the sell side, that you have early deals, because most of the companies are looking for validation, they're looking for late stage asset, and a lot of them are looking for solely global distribution rights. But I think that we leverage that platform pretty well. And then bringing another case of our recent transaction with Biogen for our Cimzia biosimilar. That again speaks in favor of our powerful platform technology. Cimzia biosimilar is a very, very difficult product actually to produce because of its very high technology requirement. It's very sensitive cost of goods, and there's a few other parameters that makes it very difficult. So when we went out for our Cimzia biosimilar partnership, we talked to so many players, and then we realized that it seems we're the only biosimilar developer out there who are actually developing this target because of its technical hurdle. And because of our unique platform technology, we're able to tackle that. And that again translates into a very successful partnership, which we had with Biogen that we released about 3 weeks back for the global rights. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that we see that biosimilar is competitive. It has its potential price erosion that brings the pressure to the developers, but at the same time, it can definitely be driving forward with innovation, and that innovation lays in the execution, the executability, the technology platform innovation, and that is what Xbrane is doing. So without delaying this further, I think I'll pass the microphone to my fellow panelists because different sides of the company choose the pipeline in a different way. And I shared my view from the sell side, and I would very much like to hear from mAbxience. How do you choose your target? So please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Pleasure to be here. Pleasure to share this panel with my 2 colleagues, and I'm happy to share the morning with you all. Very interesting what you have shared and the experience of Xbrane. mAbxience probably has a slightly different approach. We are a company based in Spain, and as we have heard initially, our operation started 10 years back, mainly in Latin America, and further on we continue growing at a global level. Last year, we managed and finally launched bevacizumab in Europe, and successfully launched through key partners such as Stada, Sangeeta, among others. And finally, by the end of last year, we entered successfully in Canada, and we have received the approval in Japan, Australia. I'm looking forward to receive the American one, the US FDA approval by April, hopefully. So yes, we have changed a lot, and our vision on how to build a pipeline and the portfolio has changed a lot. Initially, we were thinking about the global blockbusters, the global products, bevacizumab, rituximab. We have in our pipeline probably more global products like denosumab, and also we have niche products like palivizumab that we are just looking for partners. And the way that mAbxience has been building the pipeline was mainly driven by which were the products at the global level that could be interested to enter into the market, and additionally try to give access and trying to be in the first wave, because being in the second wave would be a mess because the investment is too high. So the challenge has been quite high. And finally, we managed to succeed with the case of bevacizumab is a case of success for us. And we are partnering with pretty good companies in Europe at the global level, in the US with Amneal. So I think that we have been smart in choosing the pipeline by that time. We have a pipeline right now, but what happened in the last couple of years was we start also listening to our partners. Because mAbxience has a tremendous CDMO capabilities, and many big companies started to approach us just to see if we could develop some monoclonals to be commercialized on an exclusive basis, which on the other side is important because mAbxience having a CDMO platform was also open to receive suggestions from our partners. So mAbxience, as an example, has been appointed by AstraZeneca to manufacture the vaccine for COVID for Latin America due to the capability that we have in our facility in Buenos Aires. So we started listening to our partners. Initially, we were the drivers of our own portfolio and pipeline, but finally, at the end of the story, let's say, we started also opening our ears and our eyes of what are the partners looking, because the biosimilar market is quite challenging. It's quite evolving continuously. So being a small company 10 years back with 3-4 people, now close to 700 people, the situation has been changing, and also our vision to the biosimilar market has been changing. But I'm guessing also how a big company, how a big pharma deals with this. We have seen the evolution of Amgen, of Sandoz. So I would like to hear from Sangeeta how in the case of a big company which combines let's say the lot of resources that they have to develop biosimilars and the big commercialization network that they have, how do you manage to combine being or be successful being a big global company?
Thank you, Eduardo, and very nicely summarized both Xiaoli and Eduardo on the based on size and how you look at the portfolio. So firstly, I'm responsible for BDNL for biosimilars for the Sandoz international region. So while I speak generally for Sandoz, there would be aspects of which in the North American markets are different, and as to the rest of the world. But for us, portfolio play is a very big, and of course capacities are not unlimited, and also they are not fungible. So there has to be this key decision of what do we do internally and what do we source externally. So the way we look at it is typically, 1/3 of the biosimilars are those which are kind of like pure play, like the TNF alphas. They wouldn't have that level of complexity. And the other 2/3 are the ones that are very complex when it comes to development, either from the capability of development or even the capacities. So when it comes to this 1/3, we obviously look at the market size, which is very key, and the ability to be the first to market, because the moment you are beyond number 3, then it's very hard to unlock the value of the product. You're way too late. So we look at the ability to be first to market in the top few, and the ones therefore that fall out of it, we look at it either strategically with existing partners, where there is enough time for a launch, or we look at it in a more opportunistic way, where we see what are the offerings on the table for BDNL and then pick the best or suitable candidate. Now, in the 2/3, which is the more complicated in terms of development or from capacity standpoint, it's very strategic. We like to decide whether, both from intent and what we have today, whether that's the space we want to operate in. For instance, the insulins, we know the kind of capacities you need for all the markets. It's not something that we can either or would like to step in ourselves. So that is a very strategic decision, and it goes straight into the BDNL scheme of things. The other part right now, as we see, the antibody drug conjugates is now become like a mantra, and moving forward, that's a platform that is extremely complex. And we're seeing that the future of the biosimilars, a lot of it will reside in the ADC kind of platform, if I may use that word. There again, we have to choose as to, there's not like one size fits all. So we define what is it that we have in terms of capability and space, and operate in that ourselves, and the rest we look at partners like Xbrane, etc., or companies that have that agility to be able to do the development and bring that for companies like ourselves. So that, in brief, at a 30,000 level, is the way we do our portfolio. It's a kind of a risk balance portfolio approach, which we adopt. So I don't know, Xiaoli, would you like to tell us how you look at partners that you are going to be wanting to give your products to, and how do you look at that part from a small company, but very technologically enriched?
Yeah, sure. I would like to share some of our thoughts, and thanks a lot for the question, Sangeeta. So for us, choosing a partner itself is actually a pretty big project. As I said before, we have the platform technology, which enables us to have the best protein expression and gives the best yields, and then translate into the best possible cost of goods. We want to do what we do good, and then we want to hand over some of the activities to our partners to bring, let's say, external expertise to speed up the product development, and then to make sure that the product hits the market as soon as possible. So because of that, we need to predefine what do we want to bring in this transaction. And that would tell us what type of profile that we're looking at from a partner standpoint. So once again, if I may use the Cimzia case study, we know that early on that we would like to dedicate some of the activities in this product development to the partners. So we were pretty careful in selecting the partner that is not a pure distributor. We wanted the partner to have certain manufacturing capacity, clinical development, and with a pretty strong global foothold in commercialization, at least covering the majority of the territories. So with that, we have a defined shopping list. We go out and talk to people. And I would say that that is the first step of how we choose the partners. So basically, I guess what I'm saying is that we need to identify the right one, which have the right capacity and expertise in bringing our product to strengthen the product development. And that is what we are looking for in the partnership. And then the other side, of course, I mean, beside of the expertise, the financial input is also very important. So both of these two pillars is, what we're looking at when it comes to the partnership. So business synergy is definitely very important. But then we also know that, for large players, they have different, shopping lists, and they have different choosing criteria in terms of what asset to take in. So from our end, we would also like to understand a bit more about, from the buyer side, how do you assign, let's say, the licenses? Maybe that's not only from the large players from Sandoz, but also from mAbxience. How do you assign the licenses, whether you do exclusive licenses, semi-exclusive deals, how do you choose, and based on the asset by asset standpoint. So I guess I'm looking at mAbxience.
Okay, so
Eduardo, please.
Sure.
Please
Thank you so much for the question. Really very interesting, and I totally endorse your comments. I really align with what you have said. And in the case of mAbxience, we try to initially take a look at the market, how the market is, because our colleagues, Anil and Gopal has previously shared. In the case of Europe, it's initially for Biosimilars, it's a tender business. So being a mainly tender business, 80–85%, in some cases 100% tender business. Probably we need to be very clear in the kind of partners that we're appointing. And in some other countries, for example, it's a big national tender. Then we have regional tenders, hospital tenders, decentralized tenders. So each market has its own dynamic. So we try to take a look very careful at how the market is. So one of my role being in market access is try to identify how each market is, how each market works, and how the product is put into the market, is placed into the market. And in cases probably where the product is a big product like bevacizumab, we can appoint semi-exclusive licenses, provided that the opportunities in a country may be slightly different, and probably two companies may have a different approach. Of course, and it's very important to highlight here that both companies has exactly the same conditions to operate. So we need to put them both in the same conditions, allowing them to further deploy their own local strategy. But in some cases, companies probably will be going to the national tenders, or probably they will want to, let's say, hospital or regional tenders. So I think that if the market or the product itself give us the combination of maximizing the opportunities to grant access, because at the end of the day, we are looking for granting access to the patients, then we'll go for semi-exclusive licenses. Same process we have followed for our denosumab. We have already granted a semi-exclusive license, and now we are in the process through our BD department to look for the second licensee. So in big products, we are trying to approach, to use the most open possible approach. For, let's say, niche products like palivizumab, we usually probably will be using let's say, an exclusive approach. There's no need for a market like RSV, which is a niche market, to enter with semi-exclusive partnerships, because there will be two competitors promoting the same product. It's a product which is much more related to promotion, to approaching the physician, to getting the prescription, and probably the challenge there is to appoint the right partner that will be probably having much more capabilities for developing the market and for increasing the access on a country by country basis. So this is how, in our case, in mAbxience, we have been successful in identifying the partners, taking a look at the markets, trying to take a look at the therapeutic areas, and also trying to define how the partners' capabilities are in order to appoint them. But as you said, we are, let's say, a mid-sized company. So let's hear from the big ones, how the big ones do manage to do this, and how do they proceed. So Sangeeta, please share with us your views on this.
Thanks, Eduardo. Yeah, so with bigger companies, the way we approach partner selection would be pretty much, why are we partnering? I mean, if it is going to be something, on a strategic point of view, where it's going to be like a bunch of products in a particular platform, technology, and things like that, the approach to that kind of a partnership would be very different from the way we would look at an opportunistic product, where we want that one product because either A, it's fallen off our radar, or it's in that 1/3 of products which were not very high value and we chose not to develop it. So if it is strategic, then there is a very large element of the cultural fit as well. We would definitely look at exclusivity, because there's going to be a lot of knowledge exchange between the companies. So the culture, faith, trust, and all of this, along with obviously the core competence, they may have the product in a proof of concept situation. So to be able to wed at that stage itself is a good amount of the due diligence to the softer aspects, as well as also the technology that is available, and also the capacities to be able to feed all the markets that Sandoz is operating or has aspirations to operate in, which is typically global. So that is very key for us. And in case of the single products and things like that, and if the product is already in a situation where there is an advanced development, then it's pretty much choice on the table, and then we go with the regular suspects of quick to market and the IP situation, and definitely the cost of goods, which in pure play biosimilars, still that would be determining factor in some of the markets that we operate in. So it depends on the why of the partnership, and that's how we choose, because it's going to be a long-term kind of a relationship. It's these kind of partnerships, unlike the smaller molecules, you have a short-term kind of a situation, but this is like really, really long. So the fit is essential. So that is kind of the headline, but yeah. So I would be keen to understand what companies like say yourselves, when you are offering product, what do you call as success of a partnership, or how do you look at a successful partnership? What is it that you look for when you look at partners to commercialize the product for you? Xiaoli, since we are going in this order, maybe I get to you first.
Sure. Happy to jump in. For us, I would say that successful partnership has two different parts. The first one, of course, is to successfully establish the partnership. So we do the transaction. And then with that, I think some of the things I've already said before, there are certain hard criteria, what we want to bring into the product development, and in addition, the financing input. So those are the things which we, which we take into consideration whether or not we partner with this company. The other soft parameters, which I share a lot of your view, both Sangeeta and Eduardo, what you said, is the team. Because for us, the transaction itself is not the end of the project. It's actually the starting. So we see that as like a marriage. And in order to successfully maintain this partnership, we need the contribution from both sides, and we need the dedication from both sides of the team. And that for us is key. So beside of the hard criteria, what for us is really important that, the team needs to like each other. We need to be able to share information in a transparent and fair and professional way. And that is one of the things that I would say plays a very big role in whether we decided to continue to interact with that company, or maybe we put a stop in it. And that would also dictate, how much support do we get when the transaction has been successfully closed. Because eventually what we're looking at is not only the upfront payment or the closing of the deal, but we are looking at to proceed with the product development, to lead the product as soon as possible to the market with the best possible quality. So I think that's the additional input that I wanted to put on the table here. And with that, again, since we're all going in turns, I'm looking at Eduardo.
Yeah, sure.
So from a mid-sized company, from both seller and buyer, how do you support your partner to continue with the product development?
Sure.
Hello, can I interrupt you slightly? We're running out of time now, so can I just say last words, Eduardo, and then we can close the session, please. Thank you very much.
Sure. Just 1 minute, just to close and just to continue with the thoughts of Xiaoli. I think that probably in our case, how to support the partnership, probably two ways. Mainly, we can focus first, let's say, in the soft one, which is the marketing department, preparing marketing materials, developing the brand book, developing global value dossiers, budgeting back model, everything that needs finally the partner to approach the different stakeholders, agencies, prescribers, tender authorities. I think that from this part of the partnership, developing this material is a very big asset. On the other side, the COGS, as our colleagues has mentioned before, improving processes, reducing COGS, being much more competitive, and just to enter into the market as fast as possible and taking the biggest portion as quick as possible. So I think that the support in a partnership relies mainly in these two assets, the industrial one and the market access one. So let's close with Sangeeta very quickly, just to run out of time. On the big ones, how are they managing that?
Well, I won't take so much of time because I think we're running out of it. But yeah, I echo your thoughts on this, that, if we have an advantageous, other than what you said, even an advantageous target product profile or an interchangeability, from our partner, that kind of moves the needle considerably when it comes to perception of the product and our ability to be successful in commercializing it. Yeah. So with that, I'd hand it back.
Thank you very much, our panelists. I'm sorry, I had to cut you. I mean, I personally have like 3 questions for you, but I'll write them. I'll send emails. But we do need to move on to the coffee break. Thank you very much again for your time. That was extremely informative and a lot to learn.